offering himself to meet with Trump, even questioning the mission itself, saying, quote, "Why at this time did there have to be this stupid mission when it wasn't even barely a week into his administration? Why? For 2 years prior, there were no boots on the ground in Yemen. Everything was missiles and drones because there was not a target worth one American life." But today, the White House reiterated that the mission was planned under the Obama administration. Watch.
Their recommendation at the time was to wait for a moonless night. That night wasn't going to occur during President Obama's administration.
Fox News has also confirmed the raid was planned under President Obama and ordered by President Trump, though a national security advisor to former Vice President Joe Biden is putting some distance between the two administrations, tweeting, quote, "Obama made no decisions on this before leaving office," believing it represented escalation of U.S. involvement in Yemen. The Pentagon tells Fox that no senior military leaders have called this a hasty operation and that multiple investigations are underway. Sandra.
All right, Trace Gallagher, thank you. Joining me now is Carl Higbie, a former Navy SEAL and author of Enemies, Foreign and Domestic, and Bud Jackson, a Democratic strategist and chairman of the American Working Families Act. What do you make of this father, Carl, demanding an investigation over his son's death in this raid?
Well, I would say, first off, my heart goes out to the family. And I think this is a very tough situation. And the father rightfully is upset. And, you know, he lost his son, and I can understand that. But he needs to understand, first and foremost, that the security of the SEAL teams and the mission status is something that's paramount. And unfortunately, and I say this with all due respect, he will not get the intimate details of this operation because it's just not what they signed up for. I know as a SEAL, I went in places where I couldn't tell my family where I was. And if the Pentagon deems that there needs to be an operation for it, then by all means they will. But I say to him respectfully that please do not count on getting the details of this operation because it could jeopardize national security and tactics.
But nobody can possibly get into the mind of this father who just lost his son and the emotion that he could possibly be feeling. And then to make decisions like this, how can any of us criticize or question them?
We can't, nor should we. I think he has a right to get some answers. And I understand that there will be some investigations that happen as a matter of course because of this. But what every American should be concerned about, regardless of whether or not they're a Democrat or a Republican, this president's first decision to send our troops into harm's way, and it was done in almost a cavalier.
Hold on, but so let's go through the timeline to make sure that everybody is well aware, as Carl will lay out for us as well, that this raid was planned under the Obama administration. I have a very clear timeline coming from Central Command. They submitted a plan on November 7th. That was a day before the election even happened. They submitted the plan. The Department of Defense approved the plans. December 19th, still under President Obama. And then Secretary Mattis, this was 4 days after the inauguration, reviewed the Yemen operation planning, again, that had been conducted by the Obama administration. January 25th, Trump was briefed. President Trump signed off January 26th. The mission was carried out January 29th. It was executed under Donald Trump's presidency. It was planned under President Obama.
President Trump is the one who signed the order to do this. So regardless of whether or not it was planned before him, it's virtually meaningless. But let's talk about Donald Trump and how important he felt this was. Instead of going down in the Situation Room, as American servicemen were fighting for their lives, he was sitting up in the residence. He wasn't even following
let's get back to Carl, because I think the timeline is very important. Carl?
The timeline's very important, and Bud, that's extremely disrespectful. I can say, this is one of those things that it's. You know what it is, Bud? It's your use of political rhetoric to characterize something of Donald Trump on his first operation. What about all the troops that died under President Obama? I would caution you.
President Obama was in the Situation Room when he called for military action.
So to that point, I want to bring in some comments from some military officials, Bud, there's people much more qualified than you to comment on this, and we have heard some response. The head of U.S. Special Operations said reports of hasty planning of this raid are, quote, absolutely incorrect. He said discussions of the raid lacked the context of frequency of such U.S. operations around the world. In a story dated February 11th in the New York Times, William Weschler, a former top counterterrorism official, said, "You cannot mitigate risk in missions like this, but you can mitigate risk in missions like this, but you can't mitigate risk down to zero." These are just some of the things that are being said in response to so many negative headlines about this raid.
Well, a lot of things went wrong. In fact, one senior U.S. military person said everything went wrong. And yet the White House wants to say that it's a huge success when we don't even have all the information in. In fact, Sean Spicer wants you to not criticize it because he's using Captain Owens as a political shield. We need to criticize them. We need to get to the bottom of what happened. I'm not ready to say this was a huge success.
So, Carl, is an investigation going to take place, and what do you expect will come out of that?
You know, if an investigation needs to take place, it will. But the fact is, we cannot allow certain details of certain operations to get out there. And, Bud, for you to go on here and use this as a political talking point dishonors him further. But the issue here at hand is, like, look, President Trump, I think, is
we're going to have to wrap it up there. It's obviously a sensitive subject for many out there. A lot of people can decide on their own. We continue to grieve with that father over the loss of his son, fighting for all of us and our freedom in this country. We thank him for that. Thanks to both of you. Good to see you. All right, breaking tonight, Reuters News Service is reporting that the U.S. Senate just confirmed the latest member of the Trump cabinet. Wilbur Ross secured 72 votes to be the next Secretary of Commerce, with a number of Democrats obviously throwing their support behind Ross. In recent days, critics tried to raise questions about whether Ross had some sort of ties to Russia, but that concern apparently didn't stick. And as of tonight, President Trump has yet to mark 40 days in office. So why are some top Democrats already talking about impeachment? All right, we're going to have more on this. Katrina Pearson and Jessica Tarlov will be sure to debate this straight ahead. Plus, President Trump spoke out a short while ago about what was supposed to be a friendly get-together for the president and the press, and has now turned into the latest battle in a full-on war. Howie Kurtz is here on what this is about. Still ahead. Tonight to what some Democrats say are serious calls to impeach President Trump. With just over 5 weeks since Inauguration Day, are Democrats really considering putting the president on trial? Or is this just a tactic to oppose President Trump's agenda? Doug McKelway is live with the answers in Washington. Hey, Doug.
Hi, Sandra. You know, among Democrats, there was even talk of impeaching President Trump even before he had taken the oath of office. To Republicans, that's just more evidence that Democrats were irrationally lashing out after their stinging defeat in November and their loss of power.
But let me ask you this question. Do the Democrats understand they need to control the House of Representatives to impeach somebody? You know, the Democrats right now are living in an alternative universe.
But Democrats are banking on Trump's popularity taking a nosedive, hoping that those Rust Belt supporters who put him in office could turn on him if he doesn't deliver.
The president's support on Capitol Hill right now is a mile wide but an inch deep. And if the president's approval numbers, which are in the low 40s right now, if they were to dip into the mid 30s or the low 30s or the high 20s, then you could foresee a situation where Republicans would begin to think that Mike Pence is a much better alternative.
Democrats see at least two potential articles of impeachment. First, Trump's decision not to fully divest from his business empire.
I mean, on day one, he was in violation of the Emoluments Clause. This is a part of the Constitution that says, as the president, you can't get payments from a foreign power.
The second is Trump's alleged Russian connection.
This president absolutely was in collusion with the Kremlin and Putin in Russia during the campaign.
But with no power in Washington, the Democrats may be following a strategy to simply obstruct at every possible turn, and impeachment is just one strand of spaghetti that they hope sticks to the wall.
Wow, Doug McKelway, so much to get into there. Thank you very much. Joining us now, Katrina Pearson. She is the spokesperson for America First policies, and she served as a senior advisor to the Trump presidential transition team. And Jessica Tarlov is senior director of research at Bustle.com and a Democratic pollster. Jessica, I'm going to start with you first.
Thanks, Sandra.
Because we're 5 weeks in, I'll remind everyone. And while you have been very critical of Donald Trump through the election, through his campaign, through the first 5 weeks, I've still heard you very critical. Are you ready to talk impeachment?
No, definitely not. And I hate to say that Ted Cruz was right about anything, but that awesome pregnant pause there about do the Democrats know that you need to control the House of Representatives was spot on. I think that it's important, obviously, to keep investigating his ties to Russia. We heard over the weekend Darrell Issa say that there should be a special prosecutor, and I know that he was saying he backed it down a little bit today and said, I'm saying it's possible, but I think that he's correct there in saying that, especially when you look at how they went after Hillary Clinton. I think that the intelligence community has made it clear that we need thorough investigations.
But wait, a special prosecutor, Jeff Sessions, isn't capable of being fair?
Well, no, he was part of the Trump campaign. I think it's very clear that it is not possible for Jeff Sessions to be impartial and fair about this.
Okay, Katrina, I want to get you in here because some might say it's a little too early to be talking about impeachment of a president who's been in office 5 weeks.
Well, absolutely. But, I mean, what else are they going to say? I mean, this is definitely a party that is in disarray. They don't want to focus on their chair election, considering how the Bernie Sanders people, the Elizabeth Warren people were all very much disappointed and railroaded by establishment money. So what do? You attack Donald Trump with more fake news about Russia. You talk about impeachment, thinking that it's going to rile up their base, even though it's entirely impossible.
Katrina, are you saying that the intelligence community is peddling fake news?
No, I'm saying that the Democrats and liberal media are peddling fake news. And
but where are they getting from? Because they're talking about what the intelligence community is saying.
Well, let's talk about the intelligence community for just
nobody can hear you. Wait, so but let's get back to the broader discussion here, and that is Democrats, Jessica, appear to just still be having a hard time with the outcome of this election. Yeah. You seem to agree with Ted Cruz a few moments ago. Did you agree that Democrats are living an alternative universe?
That was a little bit of a stretch. I'm right here on planet Earth, and I know what happened. And Democrats are aware of it. I won't deny the fact, though, that the resistance is strong within the party and that there are many, especially the base, the progressive base, that do want opposition to Trump at every turn. But we can win in 2018 and 2020 on the issues.
But there's a Democrat in California, Adam Schiff, who is a ranking member of the Intelligence Committee, who just today said this is McCarthyism. So the intelligence community is not on par with what you're saying, Jessica.
All right. Well, wow, I could just let you guys hash that one out for a little bit, but we've got a lot of guests and a tight show tonight. Thanks to both of you. Good to see you.
Thanks, Sandra.
Thank you.
Coming up next, President Trump made a promise to our nation's governors to restore some states' rights. Governor Rick Scott was there when the promise was made, and he joins us next to tell you what that means.
It's not going to get better. It's going to get worse every day in the media. And here's why. But by the way, the internal logic makes sense. They're corporatist, globalist media that are adamantly opposed to an economic nationalist agenda like Donald Trump. Here's why it's going to get worse. Because he's going to continue to press his agenda. And as economic conditions get better, as more jobs get better, they're going to continue to fight. If you think they're going to give you your country back without a fight, you are sadly mistaken.